Hey everybody, this is Alzorath, and welcome back to Diablo 2. Today we're taking a look at another build video. This is another one of the basic builds that we've been kind of going on a theme with lately, with the Paladin Zealot, the multi-shot Amazon. We will try to do a few more basic builds, just to kind of like show off what happens if you just go to the extremes of kind of the cliche go-to, this is the simplest build for this class kind of builds. So this one is the Trap Assassin. Trap Assassins are pretty infamous. They are one of the go-to assassins, and they're actually the reason why I say assassins are one of the best, if not the best, class for a new player to go through the game the first time. Because one, you can get a lot of good gear with them. Two, they don't have to tank for crap. Three, they have decent damage, and it's a good damage type. Four, it's just, you don't have to get into the business end of things. You can literally cast your damage source around corners, which is extremely powerful. Only one other class can really do that, and no, it's not Necromancer. Necromancer's swarms are kind of stupid, and they won't go around corners on their own. You kind of have to walk them over there and say, hey, there's the enemy over there. You go kill them, right? The only other class that can do it really is the Hydra Sorceress, and that you don't get until level 24. The Trap Assassin, you get traps at, what, levels? Yeah, you get them at level 12. There you go. Yeah, you get them early. And you get some decent traps. You generally do start with a fire trap, and then you respec into lightning later on. But for hell difficulty, we're going with the lightning ones. Now, in the background, you guys are probably watching me kill Bale. I don't know how long it took me to kill him, because I didn't time it. Basically, we just cheese our way through Bale by casting the traps off screen. You can see that for most of it, we don't even see Bale, because we're literally casting it at the edge of our vision, and it is murdering his face. This is for those of you on the YouTube end of things. Twitch, you can't see it. Yes, we are recording this in front of a live audience. They can ask questions if they want. Whether I answer them during it or after depends on how it flows into the flow of the conversation. But yeah, you can check it out on Twitch too if you want to catch these live. But basically, we don't ever want to directly engage with Bale. So it just kind of like, we cast it out there. Eventually we do have to. You do have fire traps that you can throw at him as well, the fire bombs, which will help kill him a little bit faster. But yeah, you just kind of go in there. One thing you can do with this build that we didn't is get a lower resist charged wand and lower the resist even further. We actually have a conviction mercenary, so I'm kind of taking the lazy way and not doing that. But it does help out, and that is something that you can very easily farm for in hell difficulty. Actually, you can farm it in nightmare too. Is a lower resist wand from the various mage provisioners that sell you wands. It'll give you a handful of charges. The hell difficulty ones can be slightly better, but you're not going to get anything too extreme on it. It's going to be like level 1 or level 2 lower resist with a handful of charges. Now, as far as what the actual build is, because I assume we've already beaten Bale by now, considering how far into this rambling I've gone, we're going to look at stats first. Enough strength for gear, enough dexterity for gear, and the rest into vitality. We have a lot of life. That's just how it goes. But yeah, we just have basic things for equipment, and then all vitality. No need for energy. You should be able to get enough energy from other things. If you are struggling with energy, get a meditation mercenary. Insight is a ladder rune word. You can enable ladder rune words in single player. Just search for ladder rune words single player Diablo 2. There is a video on it on this channel. I'm working on an updated one as of the recording of this, but that is that. And that is pretty simple. It's just strength for gear, dexterity for gear, vitality for whatever else. And yes, we are using a Spirit Monarch. So we do have fairly high strength. If you don't have that high of strength, you can go Dual Claw, which has a lower strength requirement. Does have a higher dexterity requirement. Dual Bartucks can work. You can actually also even get Dual Magic Trapper Claws, which is +3 to trap skills, which is kind of useful. We don't have it on this one. If you do that, you can actually go with block from a block skill in the Assassin Shadow Tree, which we'll cover right now. Let's go ahead and jump in there. So this right here, weapon block, is able to be used with dual claws. So if you are running dual trap claws, you can actually run this. You can put various things into the claws as well for resistances. Resistance jewels work really good for that. So you can actually get some resistances going from there. Resistances being very important because you're ranged, you're not going to be up close getting smacked in the butt. You're more likely going to be hit by lightning or by arrows. Those are your main sources of damage being taken. So weapon block, pretty good if you're using the dual trap claws. We're actually using something else. We'll see in just a minute. Gives a little bit less plus skills, but gives a lot better stats. There's other things you can do as well. Rare claws with +2 skills, and also worth noting, you can get magic claws with +3 traps and then actually have +3 lightning sentry on them and stuff like that in addition to that. So it is possible to get some amazing things. Trap assassin claws for plus skills only start appearing halfway through Nightmare. It's the mid-level of exceptional claws can start actually spawning the plus skills. Normal difficulty claws can't, and half of the of the exceptional difficulty ones can't. It's just except the upper crust of exceptional, and all of the elite claws can drop plus an individual skill on them. So that's what that's about. That's a bit of a long explanation. Obviously, no martial arts on this. As far as the Shadow Tree, we get our 1 value point in Fade. You can put more points into this. Points into this give a hidden bonus as well, in addition to the Curse Duration reduction and the Resist All. Worth noting, the Curse Duration reduction does affect shrines. It does affect more than just that. Plus, the base skill of Fade gives you a % damage reduction as well. So if you're doing a kind of melee build, you can actually invest a lot more in Fade and get yourself up to about 20% physical resistance if you go all the way up it. Not always worth it, but it's there. And then down here, we have 20 into Shadow Mastery just to max it out. Shadow Master, just as a tank, she'll cast Mind Blast every now and then and be annoying, but for the most part, she's a fairly solid friend to have in the battle. You don't want to end up with Shadow Warrior at the very end because Shadow Warrior has crap resists, whereas Shadow Master does. The only time for Shadow Warrior is if you are really, really getting irritated at the Mind Blast, but even then, Shadow Warriors will not survive late hell unless you have a lot of plus skills. So, yeah, Shadow Master, go for that. Shadow Warriors can be kind of tricky. You can do some tricks with them by tricking them into casting certain skills and actually have strong accessory traps, but that's also a little bit finicky and a little bit higher level than just your basic plain Jane kind of build here. Alternate skills, Cloak of Shadows is useful in certain situations, especially if you're fighting things like Gloams. It's a control skill that blinds enemies, and it can only be recast after it's expired. Your Shadow Master will sometimes cast it, which is good for you. If you're lucky, they will. And everything else is just kind of junk. Don't bother with Mind Blast. That's only good in Project Diablo 2. And now as far as the other skills, we have, of course, max Death Sentry and max Lightning Sentry. My pattern is I will drop out 3 Lightning Sentries, then I'll drop out 2 Death Sentries. That's my pattern. You may find one that works better for you. I find this combo works out good because Lightning Sentry will come out first and start spamming on the nearest target, and hopefully take down 1 or 2 of them by the time you have the Death Sentry out, which will start a chain of explosions through the enemies, killing them off. So, and you may notice this shoots 10 times. That's because I have put 15 points into Fire Blast. Just 15. You can go up to 18, and it'll get you up to 11 shots with Death Sentry. I'm just doing 15. If I have spare points later on, I might dump more, but I'd actually rather have more lightning damage, so we dumped more into the Charge Bolt Sentry, which does boost the Lightning Sentry. So that works out fine. You could do Shockweb as well, depends on which one you prefer. I'm just going with, yeah, you can do either one. You're not going to use either of these in combat, really, so it's just fine. Charge Bolt Sentry can be made into something useful. Not great, but useful. If you have enough points to spare into it, you'd have to actually ditch the Shadow Master for it, though. So that is the skills. So now we actually have to show off how the build actually runs. This has been a short one. Oh, yeah, we actually have to show off the inventory. Oopsie. I knew I forgot something. It was like 7 minutes. Actually, no, 9 minutes. Yeah, whatever. I'm looking at 2 different times on there. It's okay. The timers are all borked. But anyway, our gear, right now we have Frostburns. There are other gloves you can use for this. Increased attack speed gloves would actually be useful, because trap laying speed is based on attack speed. You could do, say, I'm trying to think what would be a good glove for that. Anything with 20% attack speed. You aren't going to get plus traps on gloves. You're only going to be able to get plus martial arts on them. But I think you might be able to get plus trap on them. I don't think so, though. I don't remember them off the top of my head having it. I could be misremembering, though, because I'm doing this off the cuff. But Frostburn Gauntlets, plus a bunch of extra mana, helps out a great deal. That's the only real advantage from them. You can go with a lot of different things. You could get some resist gloves. You could get some... Oh, I'm trying to think what other ones you'd possibly want. You could get... You don't want any trigger on attack things because you're not ever going to trigger that. You could get honestly, resist gloves or mana gloves are your main bet, unless you're going for faster cast traps, in which case you just go for attack speed. Like Withstands or Laying of Hands or something like that. Don't want to put expensive gloves on that. But anyway, dual Stones of Jordan just for plus skills and plus mana. Obviously, we're getting a lot of plus mana from this, but the plus skills we're trying to max out for at least a reasonable amount of damage from these traps. Obviously, you could do this with very little on that. We have before in just various playthroughs. War Travelers, because we don't have really a better chance for boosts. We could go for resist boots, but our resists are already fine. So we don't need them, so just more magic find. Belt, gonna be a hard one to find. This is the Arachnid Mesh. +1 all skills, 20% faster cast rate does nothing for us because we're not using Enigma. It is worth noting that you can go faster cast on the Assassin if you're using Enigma. I personally don't favor Enigma. I don't mind trapping through and getting experience. And getting more kills and more drops, rather than just fighting bosses. Slows target by 10% if you hit them. You're not going to be hitting them, but it also increases your maximum mana by 5%, which is nice. It's decent. If you're doing a trap hybrid with something, it becomes even better because of that slows target. Like if you're doing a hybrid kick / trap assassin, it can work out okay. It's okay. It's just plus skills. It's the only plus skill belt you have, so it works. Armor, Chains of Honor, 2 all skills, all resistances. That's the 2 main things you're looking for on here. A little bit of magic find doesn't hurt. Damage reduction doesn't hurt. They're not going to come into play very often, but they're there. You're never going to use the life leech or the boosted damage to demons or undead. So it's just there for the plus skills. If you're doing Enigma, you're going to have lower resists, in which case you may actually want to lean onto the resistance boots and gloves. So it's there. Amulets, just Mara's Kaleidoscope, because there really isn't much else that you need besides skills and resistances. Obviously, a rare assassin amulet would be better. So you could actually have +2 assassin skills, some resistances, and some stats to actually keep the requirement for the Spirit Shield down. Harlequin Crest should be fairly obvious. This is just a basic one. You can put other things into it to actually boost the things. A Bear for extra damage reduction. A Cham for Cannot Be Frozen. We don't care about being frozen on this very much. It would be nice to actually have that, so you can consider it, but for the most part, we just avoid things that can freeze us. Now, as far as the shield, we have a Spirit. Does not matter the faster cast rate on it. This one's actually halfway decent, but it doesn't matter. It gives a little bit of resistances. It gives +2 all skills, which is good. And that is about it. It gives a little bit of mana and vitality. Nothing too insane on there. But last but not least is Heart of the Oak. Yeah, we're not using a claw. We're a trader assassin. But this is +3 all skills. Obviously, you could actually go for a +3 trap skill claw if you want to, or +3 trap skill dual claw. That would give you a 1 extra skill point, but you also would get all the resistances, because this has 36% resist on it, has increased maximum mana, it has all skills, and this is actually even better if you're using an Enigma, because it has the faster cast rate on it as well. So +3 all skills, really, really hard to beat. So Heart of the Oak, very powerful weapon. I usually try to make one relatively early. It's one of those, it's on that list of rune words that I'm like, okay, if I can get this, I can just transfer it around to everybody and be content. Like, I can just be happy about everything. So it works out pretty good. Heart of the Oak it's usually Heart of the Oak, some spirit stuff, Chains of Honor, Grief, and a few other rune words. Insight. Infinity's a little bit later, but it's also on that list of just things that are just generally good overall. You can use them with multiple builds, and they can be extremely powerful. So that is that. Let's go ahead and demonstrate this here. We've already talked about that. Now, you heard me mention probably that I said I do 3 regular traps, and then I do the death sentries. Obviously, that already murdered all those guys. But that's because I was busy talking. So we drop out 3 of those, and then we drop out 2 death sentries. And you may notice, hey, it's attacking something up there. As soon as something dies, it starts exploding all the corpses. And then it just chains through. So it works out pretty good. Obviously, our cast speed on it is relatively slow because we don't have a lot of attack speed boosts. So that is something that can be a struggle. But this combo does work out pretty good, and it's the combo that I recommend. This isn't going to beat, like, Player's 8 difficulty. It's going to be going in there. You can do this with just, like, crap gear even, and get through players 1 into possibly even like players 3 or 4 and not even think about it. This can do players 8. You just have to be really, really patient and go really, really slow. So yeah, you can see that murdered, all that stuff. We're on players 1 right now, and you can do a lot of farming with it. And it's fairly decent. You can get some magic find on here too pretty easily. You can sacrifice a lot of stuff and still be viable. So that's one reason why I recommend it for new players. Trap Assassins, they're your friend. They are better than the Sorceress for a new player. They're better than a Barbarian for a new player, but most people seem to start with either one of those. Start with the Assassin, trust me. It's going to be useful for you. If you're struggling in Hell difficulty, stay back a little bit further. Use the traps. Let the traps lead the way for you. And obviously, Conviction on our Mercenary helps out a great deal, making it even more viable in Hell. So that's one reason why we can do players 8. You're obviously not going to do that with Trash Gear. You're going to do players 1 to 3 with Trash Gear. I say Trash Gear, like Viper Magi and Frostburns are relatively easy to come across. No Stones of Jordan, just some resist rings. That kind of stuff you can actually go through players 1 without Conviction, without anything like that, and just be perfectly fine in Hell difficulty. So anyway, that's going to be the end of this episode. So if you guys enjoyed this, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see these live sometimes. I don't record all of them live, but some of them. You can check out the Twitch channel down in the description down below. And yeah, keep gaming, have fun, peace out. This has been Alzorath, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.